Okay, I'm calling it now. Jubei's gonna be the next DLC character in Chrono Phantasma.
We all have those moments. You know, those times when you're having trouble with a certain challenge, there's a level that's giving you a hard time, or there's a boss that keeps beating the living crap out of you. But instead of rage quitting, you stand up, grit your teeth, and tell yourself, just one more try. Because down in the depths of your soul, you refuse to be beaten and you know you have the skills to pull it off. These kinds of moments are unavoidable, especially to people who take pride in their skills and tenacity. So I'm going to count down the 10 moments that tested my skills, patience, and sanity the most. Now I know what you all are thinking. CJ already made a list like this, you plagiarist! Yeah, I know he's done this topic before, but I won't be including any of the moments he listed on my own list. Okay, get set to stare down some demons, because it's game time! Rayman Legends. Many gamers know about this game's tumultuous ride to store shelves. Originally slated as a Wii U exclusive, it suffered a huge delay when Ubisoft decided to take it multi-platform, due in part no doubt to the system's low sales. So, to apologize, the Rayman Legends Challenges app was released onto the Wii U's eShop for free. And so the addiction began. Admittedly, there wasn't much replay value to it unless you wanted to play the challenges again and again and again to get a better mark each time. Which is pretty much the point. The challenges were divided between gathering lums, traveling a certain distance, or going as far as you can. They also took place in 4 different areas, those being the Land of the Living Dead, the Infinite Tower, the Never-Ending Pit, and Murphy's Dungeon, the latter of which featured the use of the gamepad. These challenges were addictive because of how satisfying it was to achieve those trophies. Now it's been absorbed into the actual game, but with challenges changing each day, there's still plenty to keep gamers coming back for more. Now I just need to get the full game so I can pick up where I left off. Every Pokemon trainer's been there. You see that majestic beast before you, and you are left awestruck. A single thought enters your head. I'm catching that thing. Ha! As if that's gonna be a walk in the park. Catching legendary Pokemon is one of the toughest things to accomplish in a Pokemon game, but it's also one of the most satisfying, if for no other reason than to say, I caught a legendary. These Pokemon have high stats, powerful moves, and most importantly, a lower catch rate than other Pokemon. This means you have to do everything you can in order to tip the balance in your favor, whether it be freezing it, putting it to sleep, paralyzing it, or using special Pokeballs. But even when you do everything in your power, it's still far from a sure thing. It's even worse for roaming legendaries because they can sometimes run away, even when they're asleep. This is why I always save before a battle with a legendary, and why I always come fully stocked. After all, nothing would feel worse than running out of Pokeballs, right? Or you could just be cheap and throw your Master Ball. Or you could just get lucky. Diddy Kong Racing is a game that broke the mold for kart racing games. Rare did a magnificent job combining the exploration and collectibles of games such as DKC with a racing style not unlike Mario Kart 64. This particularly shows in the game's adventure mode, where in each world, you win races to collect balloons and face the boss. Of course, after beating each boss, you're given another task to complete. This brings us to the Silver Coin Challenges. The goal of each challenge, true to their name, is to collect 8 silver coins scattered over the course, and finish the race in first. Sounds easy, but several of these coins were off the main road, inevitably causing you to slow down, at least if you're in the car. What this means is that you had to know each course inside and out if you wanted to prevail. These challenges forced players to find shortcuts, alternate routes, and really think outside the box in short order. I had to restart some of the harder courses several times before I got all those golden balloons, but it felt so satisfying to finally claim the checkered flag. And then I had to face the boss again. Friggin' bubbler. Shantae was a Game Boy Color gem that suffered from some of the worst timing possible. Being released about a year into the lifespan of the Game Boy Advance, a lot of people weren't able to play it until this past summer when it was released onto the 3DS Virtual Console. I was one of those people, and I have to say, I was missing out. There was some good challenge to this game, but nothing hair-pulling, until I got roughly halfway through the game. In order to unlock the third labyrinth, you have to find a caravan of zombies at night. One of the zombies, a surprisingly cute one named Roddy Tops, challenges you to a race in order to open the gate. Now, if you can't outrun an ordinary zombie, you deserve to have your brains eaten. Only problem? Roddy Tops is no ordinary zombie. She is surprisingly agile, and the course is littered with tree stumps. You have to have great reflexes and know the course well, because one mistake and Roddy will zoom into the lead. Needless to say, I had to abuse the 3DS restore points several times before I finally beat her. If you think all zombies are slow and stupid, you clearly haven't played this game. In which case, set aside some 3DS cash and download it. After this video, anyway. Divekick is what I'd call deceptively simple for a fighting game. The 2-button control scheme makes for a surprisingly deep fighting game. Part of the fun is deciding which gem you'll use. There's one for dive speed, one for kick speed, one for your style gauge. Then there's the YOLO gem. Aside from deriving its name from a hashtag abomination, this gem boosts your dive and kick speed by 30%, but at a cost. Whenever you use it, you're put in sudden death, which means if you lose once, you lose the match. And wouldn't you know it, there's a trophy for completing story mode with it. Just imagine going through all those opponents knowing you're one errant kick away from losing. Not to mention having to hear this every time.
Fraud detection warning. Fraud detection warning.
It gets on your nerves fast, people. Of course, I wasn't going to stop until I made it, and no amount of continue screens, fraud detections, or S-kill adverts were going to stand in my way. And believe me, I saw all of those a lot. That's why this moment makes the list, and why you'll never see me use the YOLO gem in online play. I mean, handicapping yourself against a computer is one thing, but against an actual human? No thanks. Castlevania is no doubt one of the hardest games in the NES library. I'm serious, it took me years to beat this game, and even then it was only thanks to the Wii's Virtual Console and its restart points. Whether it was infinitely respawning enemies, or enemies that took a minute to kill, or just their placement, this game would not let up. The biggest difficulty spike seemed to happen in Area 5, and now I feel I need to pay my respects. This fucking hallway. There are Medusa heads coming from both directions in their predictable yet incredibly annoying pattern, and axe knights which throw axes high and low. What's worse, at this point in the game, each hit costs you 4 health, which means 4 hits and you're dead. But the axe knights, they take 9 hits. 9 of them! But you can't hit the axe knights because you're too busy dodging the Medusa heads, but then you get hit by the axes. But when you're trying to dodge the axes, you're trying to hit the knights, but while you're trying to hit the knights, the game's driving you up the friggin' wall! You would not believe how many times I died here. If there was ever proof of how tough NES games could be, it could be found in this one hallway. And what awaits you at the end? A boss fight with friggin' death!
Must contain Juju Rage. Okay, what's next on the list? Oh, crap.
You thought Castlevania was hard? The original Ninja Gaiden was even harder. Throughout the entire game, your skills will be pushed to, no, past their limits, and nothing hammers home this point more than Act 6. This one stage commits every sin that a level can commit. There are enemies everywhere, and the way they're positioned will all but guarantee that you'll suffer damage. Not only that, but they'll respawn the second you scroll the screen back to their spawn points. Also, some of them have projectiles so they can stay out of range of your sword. And that's not even counting the sheer amounts of bottomless pits you'll find throughout 6-2. That level in particular is so hard that GameFAQs has a walkthrough for that level alone.
Now I know I'm forgetting something, but ow! Damn it!
Just getting through this level caused me so much stress that I might have gone insane from the sheer number of deaths it caused me. But the worst part is the 3 boss fights at the end. The Masked Devil, who is actually Ryu's brainwashed father, has an easy pattern to exploit, but Jaquio's pattern is extremely difficult to follow and will almost always cause you damage, and the Joshin's fireballs are everywhere and fire at random. But the worst part is that if you die to any of them, you get sent back to the beginning of 6-1 and have to go through the entire stage all over again? Yeah! When you think of Mega Man, you usually think of the Classic Series, the X Series, or to a lesser extent, the Legends series, and the countless fans that got pissed off when Legend 3 got cancelled and Capcom blamed the fans for it! No, I'm not gonna go there. Then there's Mega Man Battle Network. I, for one, enjoyed this change of pace. Set in an alternate universe where nearly every electronic device is connected to the internet, Robot Masters were replaced by sentient programs called NetNavis. Some of these make for fun boss fights, while others, not so much. But there's one Navi who's so tough that I need to develop a special strategy just for him. Can you guess who? Bass, of course! If you take this Navi lightly, you are just asking to get deleted. Throughout the entire Battle Network series, Bass is always the strongest enemy Navi in the game. Not only that, but he got tougher in every game in the series. Why is he so tough to beat? For one thing, his attacks are either crazy fast, crazy powerful, or both. Also, in the early games, he had a barrier that nullified damage and could only be broken by hitting it hard enough. These battles test your reflexes as well as your endurance and strategy, and if you're not up to snuff, you will get owned, which made it all the more rewarding each time I beat him. There's a lot more I could say about Bass, but that's a story for another time. But for now, I've got some fresh wounds to open. Oh god. Not her again. Okay, for those of you who have seen my collab with WeDude83, you know why Paracelsia is this high on here. For those of you who haven't, it's because this she-devil has all the characteristics of an uber-cheap boss. Overpowered super moves? Check. Relentless attacks that can juggle you without end? Check. AI that borders on the divine? Dude, there isn't a check big enough. Paras is bar none the cheapest fighting game boss I have ever faced, and the list of reasons starts in my apartment and goes around the block twice. It's so bad that after the third loss, the game actually starts taking pity on you. I'm not kidding. Paras starts losing health at the start of each match after the third. Of course, as her health gets lower, she starts even getting more aggressive. You can see why I didn't want to let her beat me. However, this wasn't the first time she appeared. As it turns out, she was the true final boss in the Japan-only PS2 port of Arcana Heart 2 Sugoi. And as much as it shocks me, she was even worse in that game. Her AI was only slightly less cheap, but not only was the fight laggy, but her super moves did even more damage, and her Crystal Prison Critical Heart was an almost guaranteed instant kill. Imagine her power in Arcana Heart 2 with her AI in Arcana Heart 3's Score Attack mode, and you can make an entire song with all the times she'd pwn your sorry ass. Speaking of which...
3, 2, 1, go!
Really, Adam?
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Whatever. Can you just move on to number 1 already?
Okay.
Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. I'm surprised that I haven't talked about this game or this series until now. Yeah, some people don't have the patience for it, but those that do will agree it's exciting, addicting, and rewarding. Taking down giant monsters is just so satisfying. Throughout the game, you'll be given quests to complete, ranging from simple gathering, to taking on beasts the size of a small living mountain, to the quest that takes number 1. The one quest that had me stuck for days, because it truly tests your mettle as a hunter. This is Mark of a Hero. If you can pull this off, you know you're a big shot. Let me set the scene. You and your Shakalaka AI companions have 50 minutes to defeat an Ivory Lagiacrus, a Brachydios, and an Azure Rathalos, 3 of the toughest monsters in the game. Not only that, but you face the latter 2 monsters at the same time. What's more, this is a high-rank quest, but these monsters deal G-rank damage. Also, this isn't a quest where you can just slink off to another area to heal up. This fight takes place in the land arena, and you'll need to put some space between you and the enemy if you want to use your items. If you still have high-rank weapons and armor for this ordeal, you won't have an easy time of this. In fact, half the battle is preparation. If your item pouch isn't stocked, you might as well not even bother. To to achieve victory, I needed to use every resource available, even the monsters themselves. Like I said, this quest took me days to pull off, and I failed several times before I finally managed to complete it. But this quest takes number one not only because of how difficult it was, but also because of how satisfying it was to finally bring those beasts down. It's something I really can't describe. You need to experience it for yourself.
I'm the quarter guy, and I am a monster hunter.
And the truck door comes and then...